Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the iconic Taylor Swift friendship bracelet into a garland that you can crochet. For this project, we're going to need a bunch of different little colors of yarn. Whatever you've got is fantastic. And then I'm going to be using white for my beads. And then you may want a little bit of black to embroider your letters on, but I'm going to show you two different ways to do the letters. But this is a great way to use up all of your scraps. So if you've got a friend who has little balls of yarn, go ask Grandma. Grandma, give me all the little balls of yarn. You've got the perfect project for them. So all of your little yarn balls. We'll also be using, let's see, I'll be using a size I hook, but you really could use an H or an I. This is a 5.5 millimeters. You'll also need some scissors and a yarn needle, and you may want some like puffy paint, fabric paint with a fine tip pen if you would rather paint your letters on. So either way, I'll show you both ways to do it, to embroider them on or to paint them on. All right, so once you've got all your little yarn balls and your extra little materials, we're ready to get started. So I'm going to show you the first bead first. This is the tiny one. So the smaller of the colored beads, and we're gonna start out with just a slip knot. And then I'm going to chain two. So here's a 1 and a 2. Now in the second chain from my hook, I'm going to do 8 single crochets. And if you see where that second chain is, there's one little piece of yarn you can go into, or you can dive all the way in and go under 2 pieces of yarn there. I like to go into that second chain from my hook under 2 pieces of yarn. I just feel like it keeps my center or like stay closed better. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So we're going to dive all the way into that second chain from the hook, and we're going to do 8 single crochets. So here's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And now we're going to find the first single crochet right here, and we're going to do a little slip stitch in there just to close up our circle. Slip stitch, and that is all. We can pull out our yarn a little bit, and we can use our scissors to cut the yarn. Don't cut it too short, leave just a couple inches. So I've got a couple inches here all together, and we can pull our loop out. Now you can see the circle in my center opened up just a little bit, but that's okay. We can just tug that first starting piece of yarn like this to close it up. There we go. Now you could also do a magic circle with this, but I find that a lot of people get angry about magic circles. And I get that, it's fine. So I'm just showing you with the chain too. Now what I'm gonna do, I have these 2 pieces of yarn, right? The very beginning piece and the ending piece. I'm gonna tie them together in a square knot. So you're gonna do one side over the other, and then go back the other way, that side over this one. But just do a double knot however you want to, okay? Now, with these 2 pieces of yarn, I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna bring them up to the top of my circle, okay? So this is underneath where I tied my knot. I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna put my hook into like that very next little stitch here. So right next to where I ended, and I'm just gonna bring that yarn up. And then I'm gonna go directly across to the stitch directly across from that one on my circle, and I'm gonna bring my other piece of yarn up over there. Now that's gonna be important later on because we're gonna use these 2 pieces of yarn to tie our beads together. All right, so there we go. 1 bead is completed. That's the small bead. Now let's move on to the medium size bead. So I'm gonna grab another ball of yarn. I've got my pink here. And for this one, we're gonna make a little slip knot. And then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now in the third chain from my hook, I'm going to put 10 half double crochets. So once again, I'm going to not go under just that one piece. I'm actually going to go under 2 pieces in that little third chain from my hook. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that third chain from my hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 for 1 half double crochet. I'm just going to repeat that 9 more times until I have 10. There's 2 and 3 and 4. Here's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, once again, if your circle opened up a little bit, you can pull it closed. And we're going to find our first half double crochet. And it is right here. So I'm skipping over that beginning chain. I'm not going to count that as my first stitch. I'm going to skip right over it and go into my half double crochet to do a little slip knot. And our little circle is all finished. Now, once again, we're going to pull up that loop a little bit and cut our yarn. Turn it over and tie a little knot to secure those ends. Once again, pull that beginning yarn if your circle opened up. And now we're just going to do a little double knot to secure the ends. And now we're going to pull those ends back up to the front. So just go in, down into the next stitch and pull your end up. And then go directly across. Let's see, directly across should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches away. And pull it on up. Now you have 2 little pieces of yarn that's going to help us tie our beads together. So let's see. Not a big difference, but you've got small bead, medium bead. Actually, since I'm mixing yarns here using all different yarns, this yarn is a tiny bit finer, so it actually looks almost the same size, but if I use the same yarn, this one would definitely look bigger. But anywho, so we've got small bead, medium bead. Now let's do large bead, which is also the one that we're going to be making our letters on for our little bracelet banner to spell out whatever words you want. So for our large bead, which is also our letter bead, we're going to start with a little slip knot. And we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And now in the third chain from our hook, we're going to be putting 12 double crochets. So once again, diving under the 2 pieces of yarn. We're going to draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. There's 1 double crochet. We're going to do that 11 more times so that we have 12. Here's 2. And there's 3. And 4. And 5. And 6, and 7, here's 8, and 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now pull your little circle closed if it opened up a little bit. We're going to skip over our starting chain and slip stitch right into the top of our first double crochet. Pull our yarn up just a little bit and cut our end. Now we're going to flip it over. And on the back side, we're going to double knot these little pieces together again. Tug your little circle closed if it opened up again. Do a little double knot, one side over the other, and then this side back over there. Now we're going to go back into just about the very next little space and pull our yarn up back to the top of our circle, and then directly across. Pull this piece back up. Now we've got what is going to be our letter bead. So how do we get our letters on there? Okay. There are two different methods you could use. First, you could take a little piece of yarn and you could actually stitch your letter on there. So let's say I want to do, let's do the letter A. We'll do A for Anita. So I'm going to start on the bottom corner and just bring my needle up through and then back down to the top middle. You're just stitching in the shape of that letter. I'm going to go back down over here on the other side and bring this up here. And then I got to make that little across part. Actually, I'm going to go under that thread. There we go. Kind of looks like an A, yeah. Then on the underside, we want to tie it off so that our letter doesn't come loose. So you'll want to cut your ends, chop, chop, and then tie them together in a double knot. And then cut them again. Not too close to the knot, but close enough to where they're not sticking out on the sides of your bead. There, and you can see you've got a nice little letter A. Now, I just did that quickly to demonstrate, but I'm sure you guys can make a prettier letter than that. Okay, and now the other way to do it, which I really love, is to use puffy paint. I feel like this way is really a little bit easier because it's kind of just like drawing, and you literally just draw on there with your puffy paint. So you would just draw a little letter, just like so. And now the only thing about this is you need to let it dry, and it seriously takes a really long time for this to dry. This says 4 hours, so okay, 4 hours, possibly. I feel like it took longer than that for my paint to dry. But anywho, you'll want to let it dry really well before you start putting your beads together, okay? So I'm going to set this aside. And now, so how do we put these beads together? Okay, this is the fun part. So of course you're gonna just lay your beads out however you want them all put together, right? And you can use a hook or a needle. I think I'm going to use a needle here. And you're going to take one of the sides of your yarn on one of your beads and thread it through. And what you're gonna do is you're going to bring it to the bead that you're going to and thread it under where that piece of yarn is coming through. So on the sides of your beads, you have the little pieces of yarn coming out. That's where you're going to go back into with your opposite bead. So if I want this bead stuck right here, I'm going to take its piece of yarn and bring it down through the side where this piece of yarn is coming through. And then on the other bead, I'm going to take the opposite piece of yarn and bring it directly through where that piece of yarn is coming out of. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to tie them together. That's so that the knot is on the back with just a double knot. And you've got this pretty smooth looking little bit on the front. Then you can cut your yarn once you've tied your knot. Not too close to the knot, but just close enough to where all your ends are not sticking out. Now you can just lay them out and just connect them as many beads as you want in whatever pretty color order. Of course, if you want to spell something out, you want all your little letter beads together. You'll want one little dot in between words if you're doing multiple words. And yeah, that is it.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you had fun making your own friendship bracelet garland. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Bye.